We're going out. I'm going to show you how to get this look, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate if you are new here. A few months ago I made a video about my sort of everyday makeup routine, especially in the summertime, and I had a request for something that was a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more date night. So I thought I would share my favorite sort of date night, going out, nighttime look. It's a little bit inspired by sort of the 60s. So I love to do a bold cat eye, liquid liner, all that good stuff. So let's get into it. First of all, I love to start with my base. I use the Dior Face and Body, and this color is 1.5N, so it's definitely neutral. And I just like to put on my forehead a little bit, on the cheek, and on the chin. I don't use a lot. I feel like this makeup actually goes quite a ways, so you don't need a lot. And then I'm going to use two different concealers. The first is from House Labs. This one is pretty much a match to my skin tone. So I'll do this under the eye because I don't want a sort of brightened eye look, and maybe a little bit in the corner for a lift. And then I come in with the Hourglass concealer. And this one is a little bit lighter than my natural skin tone. So this one's going to be a little bit more like a highlight. So on the tip of my nose, right here, and my nasal labial fold, and then a little bit between the eye. And this is just going to give me a brightened sort of appearance in those areas where I feel like I need a little bit of a lift. So I go in with my wet beauty blender, and I'm just going to blend it all over the face. I just want it to look like my skin, but better. Come up the bridge of the nose. And then finish up under the eye. And I really use the sponge like a stipple. We're just kind of pressing the makeup into the skin. I'm not trying to smear it around. So once I've done that, I can come back in with my House Labs concealer again. So anywhere that I feel like I need a little extra coverage. So I do have a little bit of discoloration here on my cheek. So I'll put a little bit more there, maybe a bit more on the other side just to get a little extra coverage. Okay, so next up is my contour. I've been using the one from Dior. This one is in light. You can see it's very well loved at this point. I'm almost out. This has not been my favorite contour, but it's done the job. So I'm just gonna go along the bridge of my nose and on the tip, underneath my lip and a little above my jawline, making sure that I'm keeping it underneath the jaw, near the hairline, and then the cheekbone. And this is going to be just enough to give me a little bit more definition in my face. I find that when you put your foundation on, it really does flatten out your features. So we want to make sure that we bring them back, but in a really natural way. I use my beauty blender for everything. I find that if I use a brush, it just kind of smears it around. I'm just looking for more of a blend. So when I'm blending my contour, I want to make sure that I'm blending upwards, because we want to lift the face, we don't want to bring it down. Okay, once we've blended the concealer, we're going to come in with the blush. This is by Mario in the color Watermelon. So it's actually really like, it's pretty bright, pretty pigmented. So I just kind of give myself a little bit of a smile there on the apple of my cheeks. And then I'm going to blend with my brush again, or my beauty blender. I'm making sure that I'm bringing it upwards on the face. And then I'll kind of come across a little bit. And just kind of trying to get that little bit of a flushed look on the face. Like you just had a really good time. So once my base is done, it's time for brows. And this takes me probably the longest to do on my face because, as you can see, I have really thin eyebrows. I plucked them in the 90s and they did not grow back. So we have to really draw them on. I'm using Anastasia brow definer right now, and this is the one that I've been using. You can see it's got sort of the angled tip on it, so I can really fill in very easily. So I always start by drawing underneath, because we don't want to line it from the top. We want to line from underneath where it was plucked. And I just kind of draw a little bit of an outline, so creating a bit of a stencil. And fill in the tail. So it's important to remember when you're doing your brows, they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to match 100%. You just want them to look related. So they're not identical twins. They're more like, hopefully, first cousins. So they look like they belong in the same, on the same face. I'm just going to fill it in. And brush to blend. So you can see the difference. And then I'll attempt to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I'm not mad at it. So once they look decent enough, I actually go in with a brow powder, but I dropped it and it broke and then it disintegrated into the sink. So we are using an eyeshadow for this. This is from a MAC palette. I have a very old, worn-in MAC liner brush that you can see is kind of splayed at this point. And I only use this for my brows because it doesn't give like a defined powder line. It just kind of gives a diffused line, so I can go in with the powder and set the brow pencil and kind of blend it a little bit, so it kind of blurs it out a bit, makes it look a little bit more natural and a little less drawn on. I like a little bit of a stronger brow, probably because I don't have one normally, so I do take the time to really put them on. I just like the look of a strong brow. Okay, let's move on to eyes. I use a eyelid primer. This one is from NARS. It's quite old, so I don't even know if they have it anymore. It's in the shade Light, and it's almost like a concealer tip. So you just put it on the lid a little bit, and it really does just kind of take care of any discoloration and any oiliness you might have on your lid. And then I come in with a brush and blend it. So it just gives you a nice neutral base on your eyelid. And for this kind of look, you really want that. You don't want any oiliness and you don't want any discoloration. So it's the perfect base for my eyeshadow, which I'm going to use this MAC palette. Again, this is the eyeshadow palette in Unfiltered Nudes. I think I got it at Ulta. It has all these really pretty colors. So I'm gonna go in with this one, which you can see I've used quite a bit. I'm not sure which color it is. I can't read it because I'm blind. I'm gonna go in with a fluffy brush and just put it all over the lid, all the way up to the eyebrow. I like, for the most part, to keep my makeup pretty simple. I'm not a fan of those like really overdone looks. So I just wanted to keep it simple but fun and a little bit elegant. All right, so this is really gonna be the tricky part, and I've not done a liquid liner on camera before. So fingers crossed that it turns out quickly and easily. But I use the one from Hourglass. I've had this maybe 6 months now, and it's still good. It hasn't dried out, which is incredible because I have a tendency to go through liquid eyeliner, and this one has really lasted and it really stays on. So when I have to take it off, I have to use my Bioderma micellar water and like really get in there to get it off. So it's got incredible staying power. So I highly recommend this liquid liner if you're a liquid liner girl. I also love the tip on this because it's like a pen, and that is the easiest way that I have found to apply a liquid liner. So I'll start from the outside of my eye, just on the outside, just the tip, and then go inward, and then I'll put the tail on at the end. Okay, so I'm halfway there. Whew. All right, so as far as the tip and the tail is concerned, I'm just gonna kind of draw it on and then try to connect it. Now, if it's not perfect the first time, that's okay, because I'm gonna show you a really easy trick to correct it. Okay, so they clearly do not match. So what I'm gonna do is take a pointed tipped Q-tip and my micellar water, and I'm just gonna put a little bit on here. And then I'm gonna use this to correct the tip so that they match. Don't be afraid to take your time with it. There is no rush. Even if it starts to set, the micellar water is really gonna help get it off, and then you can always come back in and add concealer or whatever to spots that you may have taken off too much of your base foundation. But the point is to just try to get it as even as possible. So I like to have it quite a bit out. It gives it a little bit of drama for the look. And then once that's done, I can come back in with more eyeshadow. I'm gonna come back with my MAC palette. And then I have this little fluffy brush from MAC that I've had forever. And I'm gonna go back in with this sort of taupey, light taupey brown shade. And I'm just gonna come from the outside where the tip of the eyeliner is and up across the lid. I don't want it super dark. I just want, again, a little bit of contour here so that my eyes don't look flat. So just like that. Okay, now for the fun part, the lower lid or the lower lash line. So what I'm gonna do is I have another MAC palette here. I think it was some kind of like model palette or something like that. It's another sort of nude. You can see the colors here. And we're gonna go in with this color, which is sort of like a deep gray with a little bit of brown in it. So it's not like black. It's not gonna be like super dramatic, super dark, but it's gonna be just enough to give the effect that I'm going for. And then I'm gonna take another liner brush like this, and I'm gonna wet it. And when I wet it, I'm gonna use a piece of toilet paper just to get the excess water off. But we wanna make sure that this is wet so it really holds the eyeshadow. And then I'm gonna come in with my color. And I'm gonna come under the lid, but I'm actually gonna start a little bit out and work my way in. So I'm gonna place the brush where I want it, and then just come across the lower lash line. So it comes out a little bit, you can see. And what this does is it just kind of gives you a little bit of that opened, sort of like a doe eye effect. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and again, if it's not precise, come back in with another Q-tip, and you can kind of come in between and just really blend out that bottom lash line. Just remember that on the lower lash line, you can have it as dramatic or as subtle as you want, whatever, you know, your preference is. I like mine to be sort of in between, so I want to have that little bit of definition, but I don't want it like super crazy pointy and like having long tails on it. I just want to have it so that it opens up my eye a little bit and gives that effect. So once I'm done with my eyes, I'm going to go in with this contour palette that I got from Smashbox and just kind of go over the contour a little bit that I did earlier. So right here on the cheeks, just giving a little bit of that extra definition. And then I'm using an angled brush to kind of come in along the bridge of the nose. I had someone comment on one of my last videos telling me or referencing a rhinoplasty, and I thought that was really interesting because I've never had a rhinoplasty. I don't know anything about them. This is my nose. And underneath the lip, just to give a little bit of fullness to the bottom lip. And then we're going to set it. So I have the airbrush setting spray from Charlotte Tilbury. The trick with this is to use more than you think. And then I'm going to use my blending sponge again to go over my skin because I don't want any sort of weird marks from the setting spray. I want to blend it all in and really get into the makeup so that it stays put. Because if we're going out and we want our makeup to stay. So once your setting spray has sort of settled, I'm going to go in with my eyelash curler. This is a very old one from, I think it's from Sephora. And just do a little curl on my top lashes. And you can add lashes here if you want to. That's your, that's going to be up to you, whatever your preference is. I don't wear lashes unless I'm really going to like an event or something. So I use my Bad Gal Bang mascara, and this one is actually on its last legs. So we're still trying to get as much out of it as we possibly can, coming from the root of the lash and out. Try to get as much coverage as possible. And then we're also going to do the lower lash. Because again, we're going for that wide-eyed look. The last thing we're going to do is set it all with powder. Normally I would use my Chanel loose powder, but I ran out. So I've been using my Charlotte Tilbury compact, which I also dropped and broke. So I'm like batting zero these days, you guys. Here it is. But I'm going to go in with a powder brush and just kind of get some of this excess broken and come up under the eye because we want to set the eye. So the very last step is going to be lips. And I'm using this one from NYX. It is, guys, I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. Nude Truffle, which I know is like one of their best sellers. I think I have like 4 of these. So I'm gonna come in, and I like to bridge my Cupid's bow just to give more like a pouty look. And really get in. Sort of along the outside of my top lip. I do not have symmetrical lips. I have one side that bows out and one side that dips in. So I'm forever trying to make them match. And so I do that with the liner. Kind of, guys, excuse my nails. I'm trying to grow them out. I usually have tips, but I'm trying to go a little bit more natural, and the tips have really taken a toll. Okay, lipstick. This is MAC Creme de Nude. So we're going for a very nude lipstick today to go with our sort of 60s vibe. And just kind of blend the edges. And then I will come back in with my liner. Okay guys, this is my finished look. I like this look because it's just a nod to the 60s, sort of that vintage vibe, but it's not costumey. It's very wearable and really easy to do. At the end of the day, I'm kind of looking for ways that I can get the most bang for my buck without doing too many extra steps when I'm going out. So there you go. I hope you like it. If you enjoyed this video, please drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. If there's anything that you'd like to see from me or any looks that you think would be fun, please let me know. I would love to make a video about it. And I'm so thankful that you're here and watching. And I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.